Okay, welcome everyone. Hopefully, you guys had a good trading session yesterday. It was a kind of a slow starter in the small caps, but the big and large caps really started to get some good movement. Um, we let's see, our long HD play is working out really, really well. We got involved in X last night, which is U.S. Steel, which I suspect is doing pretty well because of potential infrastructure coming in the U.S. There was a lot of options activity in X, which we'll take a look at, and that really shifted things in the market. Also, Tesla had a surprising bounce. It looked like it was breaking down off 600, and then a very large amount of option contracts and looks like some dealer buying came in and just skyrocketed it. So, there's definitely some players at 600 that want to keep and hold the line at 600. So we're gonna take a look at that. We do have this Friday. We have Good Friday for those of you not in the US. The markets will be closed. We are still going to do our live stream on Friday, and that's a perfect time for us to test the new streaming software, which we will do on Friday. So we'll test that. We'll do open Q&A. But yeah, we're trying to move away from Zoom for the live streams on YouTube. Great for webinars, not good for live streams. So we do have some options because of Good Friday. We do have some options expiring today and tomorrow. And that, I think is going to create potentially some tailwinds because a lot of the options in the market were puts on Qs. And so if people are long puts on Qs, then the dealers are short puts. They have to hedge that. And so they can unwind some of that. And I think that's going to create a little bit of a, kind of lift in Qs maybe late this week or early next week as those hedges start to unwind. So we're going to take a look at that. We do have some decent movers today. And so we're going to take a look at the movers real briefly. Let's look at SPYs, Qs, and Bitcoin, our three main kind of overall markets. And then we're going to look at, we have right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with RKD being the big one here. So we got 9 potential movers to look at, and I'm looking forward to kind of seeing if we can get some small cap action that's going to sustain, because small caps have been like ripping in that they're just not holding it at all. Whereas, the mid and large caps, those are holding it. So looking at SPYs overnight, I'm still expecting SPYs to be muted, but to start to drift higher and higher. And I think it's going to use kind of 395, maybe 393 as support as it continues to try and push higher, unless there's any new market news that comes out. But we got this corrective structure right here. Oh, my trusty pen. Where are you, trusty pen? Where are you, trusty pen? I don't know why I didn't have you loaded. You can come on back. We miss you. There you are. Trusty pen. Welcome back, trusty pen. Okay, so we have this corrective structure at the top here, and it's just holding it. Dips continue to get bought. And so if this can make it back up to here, I think it's going to find weekly VWAP as support and slowly push to drift higher. But I'm still not expecting a whole lot of action on SPY. So if you're an SPY trader, buy dips. My opinion, and my approach to it would be buy dips instead of trying to buy breakouts on this. Because there just isn't a whole lot of volatility in SPY right now. Q still has good volatility, but Q, as we talked about in certain options, it has some potential to make some gains towards the end of this week as some of those hedges get unwound. So right now it's kind of forming, this tight corrective structure here, kind of between the 320 and like, what is that? Yeah, 311, 310. So it's kind of in this 10-point range right now. But so far it's holding the monthly VWAP. It continues to be bought on dips. And so if we start getting some impulsive selling, then I expect a retest of 303 and 300. But if it starts to build, then it could start to push up towards that 320 level. So seems like we might get a little bit of a lift in tech in the near future. Bitcoin still holding near the highs. It looks really good. We got a little bit of a sell-off just shy of 60, but it's holding at the weekly VWAP right now. You can see it just continues to be bought at weekly VWAP. And you can see it more so on the 4-hour, pulling back into that dip spot, dip spot, dip spot. So the structure on Bitcoin continues to build. I think 55 or 50 mid 54s are decent swing pullback points. I think they will probably hold the next bounce, Because you look at, you got high, nice base here, kind of matches that, low, matches this base again, and it's making its way back up. I gotta love my straight line there. It's a good thing I'm not that guy that like on the road that like paints those yellow lines. That would be a disaster. Definitely not me. But it's continuing to now hold view up, hold view up. So even if it does break, I think 55 or 50 mid 54s are going to hold. And it's going to pressure this 54 to 59 range and then eventually bust higher on this. So yeah, that's kind of feel like on Bitcoin. So we've covered our three main markets. I'm bullish on Bitcoin right now. I'm still holding to my 100K target at the end of the year or sometime between now and the end of the year. So that's kind of what I'm rolling that. So let's take a look at movers and then we'll get to some questions, Jeffrey Bankers and everybody else. So, all right. So volume for movers on the day. For those of you who've been here before, or for those of you who haven't been here before, I look for stocks that are moving 600,000 shares in the market or higher. That gives me enough interest and enough volume to suggest that, you know, this thing could make some moves. Generally, when you're under 600K volume, you're not going to have crazy breakouts or rips. You know, so I want, for day trading, I want stuff that's got a lot of participation, a lot of volume moving. That suggests institutional interest. First on the list at 600K and above is SGRP. Average volume is 414K. This is one of those like news comes out, it rips, and then it holds towards the middle or towards the lows of that. So that's not really that great. Basically, some news came out. People immediately bought on the news, but then it just couldn't sustain those gains. So to me, those are generally a pass or a wait. This one is not doing anything. Clear one on the low. So we passed that. YVR, we've traded this one for. Okay, it's a little bit better. So it's ripping and it's holding much more closer to the highs. So we're going to take a look at YVR on this list. And then we're going to see real quick what are some of the other rippers. And then we'll kind of look at them all in one shot. You are down on the day. Okay. You're holding your eyes, Taoping. We'll see if there's any TAOP. See if there's any news catalysts on these homies. OCGN, rip, and nah, it's towards the middle again. So the majority of the gains is now being held in the middle. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that's near the highs. It's sustaining the gains. And then RKDA, pretty good rip from 277 to 4. Faded a lot of that, but it seems to be building. Arcadia buying shares are trading higher after the company announced better than expected Q4 sales. So let's see what's happening on RKDA. And I might have to add another. Well, we'll use this one for RKDA. Okay, so let's check out the news. Soared past $4 on Wednesday's pre-market session, 71% higher than Tuesday's close. After the company announced better than expected fourth quarter results, Arcadia reporting quarterly losses of 47 cents per share, which missed the analyst consensus of 41 cents. Okay. Company, however, so the EPS came a little lower, but sales beat the analyst consensus by a lot. They were expecting 1 million, it was 7 million. So there we go. AK is an agricultural biotechnology trade company. The company has a portfolio of yield and traits addressing multiple crops. It's by a global food chain and feed markets. Crop yield traits are utilized. It's partners to develop high yielding seeds for global crops. It's going to be an issue. Agriculture, I think, is going to continue to be an issue in the near future because of the fact that declining farmland available, increasing population, more and more strain on the agricultural pipeline. Also inflation. If you look at food prices, they've gone up a lot. You know, they've gone up a lot in the last several years. So I think it's decent. We'll take a look at that one. Let's see if there's anything in Taoping just to round out the movers. Taoping CEO says cloud rendering and NFT can provide powerful technical support for Taoping's new media smart cloud. Okay, so this is kind of playing on the NFT bandwagon, which a lot of these aren't really holding, but the acquisition of Render Lake is an important step for Taoping. We believe cloud desktop, cloud computing, and cloud gaming business have explosive growth potential in the 5G area. Totally true, buying into that. Cloud rendering and NFT. So yeah, okay. And then it requires a majority stake in the Render Lake tech. Okay. Copy that. Founded in Ontario, Canada. Okay. I don't know if it's going to be like a multi-day ripper per se, but I think it could be at least for today. And then YVR, let's see if we got anything on YVR. Jake's just busting out the symbols before we even got into open Q&A. He's like, I'm getting my symbol in now. Look at me. He says, we'll create multi-token IP platform partnership with CurrencyWorks. Okay, so financial license monetize professional video IP globally. First of its kind, multi-token IP platform. Okay. There's just so many people that are trying to run on the NFT bandwagon. So I have less confidence in these because they generate a temporary interest, but then they tend not to follow through. But let's take a look at them, see if we can find anything. So Tao Ping, what's your volume, Tao Ping? Uh-oh, am I losing my newsfeed? There we go. 16 million. Oh, no, sorry. 3.3 million, averages 2.7. Okay, so it's above average volume right now. So for those of you that are new to this here, my process is that when I see a good ripper on the day and I like the way the chart looks, the first thing I'll do is mark the pre-market highs. On TradingView, you just hit Alt-H, and it does that. And I do that for a couple reasons, but the main reason is I want to see where this lines up on the weekly. I want to see where it lines up in higher time frame context, in the sense of, are we running into a major support and resistance level? You know, what is the pre-market highs and what does it mean in relationship to the higher levels? And there is kind of a decent respect of this level over here. You see right there, an overshoot here, last week's highs and sold off. So 1461 is a legit resistance. It's sold off here 2, 3, 4 weeks in the past. So you have to respect it to some degree. Also, we have this. We look a little bit further back. This is why it helps to look back just a little bit, just to see if we're running into major resistance levels. Beyond that, I don't really see much till about 18. You do have a 16 spike here. So if we get past this, and obviously there's going to be some offers at round numbers, 15, then I think you can make it to the potential spike, 1662, and then we got room for potential 18 rip. But this does not have a history of holding its gains. It hasn't been holding gains since 6 years ago. Rips, fades, rips, fades, rips, fades, rips, fades, rips, fades. So be quick, get in, get out. Don't plan on holding this for a multi-day, multi-week runner. This is just not that kind of stock. You're also not seeing a lot of volume build into this. So you have 1-2 weeks volume build and volume's back to normal. So that's even less trustworthy for a long-term move. So this is like, you catch a quick move. As soon as you start to see losing momentum fade, cut it out, move on, you know, grab what you can and go. So that's kind of what I look on that. So now we've done that. Then let's look at the 5-minute charts and kind of see what's going on. So we are getting some pretty good volume. It's fading a little bit. It's a 5-candle rip and ran into that key resistance. And the selling has been a little bit consistent, but it is stabilizing towards this 20 EMA here. You know, it was selling off. Now it's going sideways a bit. So this is going to need to hold the 20 EMA, build some strength. The next hurdle, though, is you got the session VWAP, and you need to clear that session VWAP. I generally do not like to buy intraday below VWAP unless I'm getting really good value on it. So for me, I'd probably want this to show some strength and build this. If it starts to lose the 20 EMA, then I think you're going to see this fade a good portion of these gains. So I think right now, kind of the key line in the sand is around 1250, 1260. And if it loses that, then I suspect a fade down to 11 at least. If it can hold strength here and build, then it's going to have a test at 1370. Once it starts to clear that, if it can clear that, then I think it has potential to run to 1461. So for right now, I'll just put an alert above VWAP, session VWAP, and I'll put one above the session highs for now. But it's not holding as much strength near the highs. And so I'm not totally convinced on this one here, but it has potential. YVR holding a little bit better. What's our volume on YVR? 2.7 million, normal is 7.5. So Tao Ping was already above the average daily volume. I think this is the 30-day. Trading View is the 10-day. So this is already above it by, roughly 20, 30%. YVR is only about 1/3 the average daily volume at. So it's not quite hit its volume. It's not showing that much a gangster amount of interest, but it is showing a decent amount. Maybe by the time we get to the market, it opens. So YVR, here's the pre-market highs. Let's check in with the weekly real quick. See if we're running any major resistance. Kinda. This thing is a little spiky. It's a little spiky. And again, very much like the Tao Ping, it just does not hold gains. Rip, fade, rip, fade, rip, fade. These are all weekly candles. So inside the week, it's ripping and then it's losing most of that value. So rip, fade. There's decent volume build into this the last 2 weeks, but it's just 2 weeks. It's generally not enough to sustain a multi-week run by itself. And last week, it already faded 80, 90% of those gains. So skeptical on this one here. Definitely more skeptical. Looking at the 5-minute. Yeah, it's ripped and it's, again, below VWAP, not as good. Popped into VWAP, sold off. Now it's holding the 9. So there is some support around here, which is probably like around $4. They're kind of in this 4 to 420 range. And I'm going to need to clear that kind of top of this corrector structure in VWAP for me to get a little bit more excited about this. Otherwise, next support comes in at 382. And if it loses that, then I see it ripping down to, falling back down to 340. I'm going to set alert to see if we can break this corrective structure here, get above 420. And then I think there's potential for it to 440 and 460. But it's gonna have to work and build the structure to really get out of this. I'll sell, or not sell, I'll have a alert there and see if it can break above 420. Otherwise, this is a wait and see. Just let the alerts do the work. Okay, RKDA, this is the one that had some interesting news on it. Okay, RKDA. So this is the top volume mover in the day, 16.9 million shares. It's already 10x its normal average volume. That's a lot of attention. So the results are probably keeping people mixed on it. Let me see if there's any look at some potential. Can you do options on RKDA? Oh, doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. So with that being said, all right, let's mark pre-market highs, check in with the weekly, go through the routine. We always go through the routine. We always go through our process, which is pretty consistent. We try and keep the process consistent. We try and execute what we, plan to execute. We keep our mental execution consistent, which builds consistency in the mind. There's no consistency in your trading without consistency in your mind and your routines. So here is the pre-market highs. There's a fair chunk of, resistance ahead. It's not the cleanest level, but it has some. And so this thing's gone from here to here. Again, you see another pattern that at best, you're going to get a couple week rip and it's going to fade, rip and fade on the week, rip, fade, and the fades are getting smaller. So there is some volume buildup here, a little bit of spike, but again, it faded that. It just did not last long. We're getting a little bit more volume here. Small caps just aren't showing as much juice as they used to. That's for sure. All right, let's check in with the intraday charts and see what we got. It is building though. Okay, so it's a little bit better structure on the chart. Good news, rip, fades a VWAP, holds VWAP. Very nice. That's what we like. New session opens, it stays above VWAP, it treats VWAP, and now 9 EMA. Double taps, runs into sellers at 4, fades below VWAP, but then finds decent base of support. Kind of, it's not the cleanest, but it's decent. It's decent. And now it's back above VWAP. So this is a little more interesting. It's holding above VWAP, impulsive, corrective. So if dips to, where is this? 335 VWAP hold or 322 hold, then there might be some potential long plays on this one here. I would look for then a rip. Probably want to break 350 and potential to run to 390s, low 390s, where it'll start to encounter some resistance. If it can't hold VWAP and it can't hold the 318, 307 lows here, then I think you got where this whole rip started at 276. If it loses that, then it's done. So there is some pretty good volume build up over this. Big surge in volume on the break of VWAP, but it's going to need to hold VWAP. So a little bit more promising. It's above VWAP. That gives us a little bit more confidence on trading this one here. So unfortunately, this is 70 cents off from the highs. So there clearly is some offers that are willing to kind of cap this for now. So if we were to get back to this, like let's just say we just rip straight here, I wouldn't necessarily buy the breakout. I think it's going to run into offers again there, pull back, and then it's going to, if it keeps pressing, then it's suggesting a breakout. So I'll set an alert for about $4 and kind of see what happens there. And then also set one for about 354 to see if we can get above that. Because then it was shown that it broke and can stabilize and make gains from the VWAP. So that's kind of what I'm looking on that one. So probably the best one of all of them, I would say Taoping and YBR. Okay, let's do a few questions real quick, and then we're going to take a look at X. It's a stock we got in yesterday. Jeffrey Bankers. I did not put enough sweetener in my tea this morning. Okay, Jeffrey Bankers, what do you use the color coded symbols in your watch list for? This is just markets. This is US indices, Europe, and Asia. So yeah, nothing, no Da Vinci Code type schematics in there or anything like that. Yeah. Jake Oy wants to look at CCL. I think we could take away Taoping. Carnival Cruise Lines. I'm not quite sold on them yet. 1 hour. Not seeing a PBO. It is a counter, unless you're thinking of this, which you may be. It is a counter trend though. It's counter trend. So, and if you look, this does, it is dipping a little bit. So if I was to be a buyer in this, I prefer a dip more to a weekly VWAP or something like that. I see this structure. If there's another structure I'm missing, you can let me know on that. But if this is the structure you're referring to, it is a counter trend. So you need to have a little bit more skepticism on it, or prefer more of a dips on this than buying breakouts, because it hasn't established itself as an ability to hold breakouts yet since it's in a bear trend. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on that. How can we find high liquidity stocks below $20? Stocks that have fair amounts of shares, that are moving, that have, that are past their 10-day average. If they're not past it by pre-market, they should probably be there within the first half hour or hour. Yeah. Benzinga will, I'm not sure if TradingView has it, but Benzinga, like when I click on a name, I can go to overview and it's going to tell me the float, and it's going to tell me like, how much shares are moving. So I already have a rough idea whether it's, decent liquidity or not. And again, how much volume is that on the day? So yeah, that's, but you're going to need a filter. TradingView does have a decent filter, a free one you can use. So you can use their stock screener, which you'd have to set your parameters basically. But yeah, so you can use the TradingView. TradingView has a free one. Yeah. RWE 1H bullish German stock. Let's take a look. I'm assuming it's on the XETR index. I'm going to assume. Let's look at your 1 hour. Let me check in weekly. Okay. So it's going to have some overhead resistance here. Looking at this here, you have breakout and immediate false break below. So it really struggled to kind of maintain gains above 35. It's impulsive selling with corrective off the monthly VWAP. The good thing is that this is building a little bit, and you do have rising support here. So that is short-term supportive. Let's take a look at your 1 hour. No, did I erase those lines? I didn't. Okay, good. Yeah, similar to CCL. I mean, the overall thrust lately is down, but you do have some transitionary behavior in here. So you see this corrective structure here after some impulsive selling. What do you see? Impulsive sell-off, immediate counter trend buying, which goes right back to the lows of this corrective structure. Rips, comes right back, rips higher. So there is some transitions in this overall downtrend. Once you have a higher low, you clearly have a series of highs here and another higher low. So from here forward, excuse me, there is some transitions in the market. There is some supportive short-term price action in it. I still don't favor like a breakout of this because again, you're trading counter trend. I prefer dips into support and use that to potentially get long. But I don't see like necessarily breakout potential unless it's average 10-day volume is 2.65. It's at 1.6. So it's probably mid late session in Germany, getting towards the later hours. And it hasn't surpassed its 10-day volume. So not a huge amount of interest. It's not like everybody's like, oh, we got to buy this right now. But you do have some good transitions in this. So if I was to get long in this, in my opinion, I would prefer dips versus breakouts. But it's a decent spot. Some very good spot in the transitions there, Tom. So nicely done. Nicely done on that. Okay, how are we doing on time? 1 minute to market open. We'll do PFE and then we'll look at X. We'll look at an HD if we have time, and then I got to get to live trading with the members. PFE 4 hour. Okay, so let me look at weekly real quick. Pfizer. Okay, you're gonna have. Let's see what's going on. In terms of open interest, calls to puts, you got 1.2 million calls, about 600, roughly almost 700K. Puts, calls are outnumbering. Not a whole lot expiring this Friday, so it's more of the April expiry for the 16th. This has some supportive elements. I feel like dips to 33 or 34 are pretty solid. And you could either do underlying, you can trade the stock directly, or in my opinion, options might be a pretty interesting play because I'm guessing since we've been inside here, IV implied volatility is probably low to some degree. So there might be some potential long option plays on this one here. I know there are questions about the Pfizer vaccine that are still going around. That may have an effect on it. That's kind of why I'd probably prefer more options than long stocks on this one here, because if you're long the stock and some negative news comes out, your risk could explode. Whereas options, you can neutralize a lot of that. So yeah, I kind of prefer dips to, high 33s, 34. So maybe it hits resistance, comes back and a buy. And then ideally, you can either take the profit there or it can break higher. But let's see your 4 hour real quick. Okay, so the bell rings, the market's open. I have to see what's going on with my, okay, cool. I want to buy some more on dips. I think some aggressive longs, maybe between 35.40 and 35 flat. But I wouldn't put, larger size on this one. I would put if I was doing this, I would put reduced size and then save more of my size for down here. but there clearly was, we tested it, we broke down, immediately broke back above it, strong buying off it, haven't come back. So, there were potentially dealers or traders that were saying like, look, we're going to come with some strength and we're going to hold the line at 33.50. We haven't even retested it. So I think it's headed up towards here. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to buy this aggressive a dip, but I probably want to wait a little bit on this one here. Yeah, but overall, I like this one. I think short term, medium term, I think there's some potential on this one here. Yeah. Okay. Sasha's got one. Motion teacher, thanks a lot. You're welcome, Motion. Hit the like button if you are taking off. We still got a few more minutes. Let's look at Sasha's on O2D. Is that really? Okay. I did not know this one. Okay. Let me check out weekly. Kind of looks similar to some degree, except it's actually breaking out of this structure. Yeah, it's a good structure. Dips to there, I think, are pretty solid. You're going to have some resistance between 257 and all the way up to 279 or maybe even 286, 287. But if you can get a pullback here to the top of the structure, have a tight stop on this one here, maybe 5-6 cents on this one here and try and get a rip, to 273, 28, 29. That could be a pretty interesting potential play. Volume is building on the last bounce, so that's solid. Yeah, I prefer a pullback on this one here, though. It's not a bad play, and it pays a nice dividend. Oh, you're thinking potential mid to long term. Okay. Yeah, the dividend on that is pretty. It's pretty cherry. 6% is high these days. It's pretty cherry. It's a wireless telecommunications. If they're an important part of the German infrastructure and things like that, then yeah. Yeah, decent spot, Sasha. Sasha is our chief course instructor. Had a very good year last year, did over 50% gains, and he continues to show it in the trades that he spots. Okay, anything else that I think we've covered all this. So we'll take a quick look at X. X is ripping. It might not give me my dip. I'd like to add some size to X. We are long. We bought some yesterday at 25.70 roughly. And then we bought a dip at 25.21, I believe. And so we bought this dip back to here, which we had talked about this level with our members. We felt like, hey, if it comes back here, which matches up with this, then we would want to be buyers. It did that late in the session and has since ripped really nicely. So we're in pretty good profit on that. I really wanted to add some size on this. I was hoping we get a dip to 26, maybe 25, but this is just gangster right off the bat. So I might have to wait on this one here to add some size. But bullish on X right now. I'm liking this one here. And our HD play continues to do really well. So we did the ratio spread, call ratio spread on HD. We also bought some of the underlying on the last pullback. I think it was like 301 something. So we're long the stock and we're long by options, and this just continues to rip. So it's established yesterday 300 as a very good support. So you have the corrective structure at the top of this move, and you can see it just, here's 300, it just kept finding strong buyers off it, and now it's holding above it. So yeah, I'm liking HD. I think long term this is a great play. I'm going to continue to hold that one. Okay, I'm going to switch over to live trade room with the members right now. So if you guys enjoyed this, you learned something from me, you got something about day or swing trading, technical analysis, price action, hit that like button, hit the bid, hit the like button. We appreciate it. I did this for free. I could have been trading right now. I could have been making money. I'm doing this for you guys. And so show some of that love. We're going to be here tomorrow. And then Friday as a holiday, we're going to be testing new streaming software. We'll do open Q&A. So hopefully pull it off without a hitch so we can move on from Zoom. But that's pretty much it. So good luck trading today. Keep an eye on X, HD, and O2D for those of you in Europe. And then also, what was that one? RKDA potential. And so that's pretty much it. So go look trading and hit the bid, hit the like button, and I will see you in the green.